What's going on, Dominators? Eldar here with another episode of Coffee with the Wiz. All right. Well, this is pretty good. So, today I kind of want to cover a couple of things that I've seen recently, and I think this affects us all. So, without further ado, let's just dive in. So, I got a couple of concepts that I want to share with you today. The first thing is who moved my cheese story or logic or principle. So if you haven't heard about it, it's a book that was published about 13 years ago. I think it's still relevant today. The story tells about two miniature people and two mice that basically they let them run into a maze, and different things have happened in this maze. Essentially, the mice and the little people have found what's called Cheese Station C, and then they had a lot of cheese, and then long story short, after a little bit, they didn't have that cheese anymore, and then each of the individual in this story, they have a different type of character. So for example, when they realize they don't have a cheese anymore, the little mice, what they did, they rely on their instincts, and then they went and right away started to look for another place of cheese. While the little men, they start thinking, and then they start analyzing different things, and they start getting aggravated and saying it's not fair and different things, and procrastinating, and they were crying about how miserable they are, and yada yada yada, while the little mice have already found some new cheese and different things. And I think it's a very nice story, and it's only about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, with some of the other discussions about that book after. So if you listen to the audio version, which you definitely should, I went through it a few times. And what's really interesting is that lately I've been running into multiple people that basically their cheese was moved away, but what they have chosen to do is to freeze or to not accept the fact that the cheese is no longer available. And this also happens in the story, in the book. The thing is, life is dynamic. Life's change. If I can share with you just a little bit of the businesses and the ventures that I've done through years, you'll be like, wow, that's a lot. Yes, because the cheese kept moving, and different things have happened along the way. So when something happened, when the time changed,
if I can change, and you can change, everybody can change.
that's the time to change. That's the time to do something else, so to find another cheese. And again, same thing in that story. You go back to the maze. So like same thing happened in the story, right? In the maze, they're looking for the cheese and they can't find it. And some, the little people, one of them is saving it for a rainy day and different things. So that story really reflect on our life and our business life, our economy life. And it's really important to understand and kind of find those things that will save you from those days. And the reason I'm saying it is because recently the world is going nuts. Things are just not what they used to be in the past. There are really fast changes all around us, and we have to change. We have to move. We have to look for a different cheese. One of the things that the author is sharing is how important it is to visualize and focus on the things that you're looking to accomplish, rather than focus on the things that you don't have, or you're lacking on at a time, or whatever it is, but you don't have those things. So one of the things in the story, I can't remember if it was the little people or one of the mice, but one of them was just sitting there, and they were visioning themselves sitting in a pile of cheese. And this is what they did in order to go and find cheese. And this is super important, and I'll tell you why. I'm sure you heard about this story where they tell pilots, don't focus on the obstacle, but focus on your path, right? Because if they focus on the obstacle, and this is in training when they do the simulation stuff, if somebody's focusing on the obstacle, you're gonna hit the obstacle. However, if your focus is on the path, is on what you're going to accomplish, then that's what you're going to get. And I'm gonna add something to this. I'm gonna share several years ago, before I started Local Wiz, when I had a very tiny small agency, I was doing this training in a class. There was about 50 people or so, and everybody was supposed to write their goals. Everybody was supposed to put it, in some notes and then share it in front of the group. And I put in there, the vision that I have for Local Wiz, and my vision of exceeding $100,000 a month on a monthly recurring services. And at the time when I was like presenting this, people were laughing. It was like, there's no way you're gonna do it. I was like, you just watch, it's just gonna take time. But that's my goal. And what I did, I was doing this, I wanna say, it wasn't daily, but it was multiple times a week. I was sitting in my office, closing my eyes, and I was imagining the moment that I hit that 100,000. And I was just closing my eyes, and I was like dreaming and thinking and creating that moment in my mind and how happy I would be. And I would remember I would sit there and I would just visualize, and I was like, I wasn't doing it physically, but I was imagining myself jumping out of the chair, happy, stoked, all of those things. And I was like imagining that day. And this was my focus, this was my vision. And I knew that if I only going to focus on that, that's gonna get me to where I wanna get. And it was crazy. And long story short, we've got to that pretty rapidly. But it was because of the vision. And I didn't care for the obstacles. I didn't care for other people. I was going after my cheese. I was in a maze, and I was looking for that cheese station or whatever you want to call it. And no matter what, I was always trying to find it. And how can I get it? How can I get it? What else do I need to do? What else do I need to do? And repetition, more action, more actions, and then eventually I done it. Which leads me to another thing. There is another thing that we do, and sometimes we are unaware of it. And this is something that a very good friend of mine told me a while ago. It was a couple of years ago, and he noticed this at me. And he said that I was dealing too much with activity and not much in productivity. Now, if you think about this, it's very important. In many of our day-to-day actions and scenarios, a lot of time what we do, we actually focus on the activity and not focus on the productivity, which, if you think about it, it's not the way it should be, because we should focus on the productivity. We should focus on the actions that helps us move. And when you analyze the actions that you do and the stuff that needs to be done, it's crazy to see how many of those things we focus on that doesn't have the productivity that will get us closer to our goal. But we're just like rats in a hamster wheel, right? Like in a hamster wheel where you do a lot of stuff, but none of those things actually get you closer to the goal. So does it worth being really busy but not moving? Not really, right? So today, it's crazy, but I also sometimes realize that, hey, I'm dealing with the activities, I'm doing a lot of stuff, but I'm not really moving. I need to change what I do. I need to focus on productivity. I gotta be productive as much as I can so I can move, so I can get those stuff done, whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish. So it's very important to differentiate. There's a little fly, it drives me nuts. It's very important to differentiate between the rubbish activities and the quality activities, which give us the production, the production that we're looking for to be able to progress. And I think that it's very easy to not notice it and kind of just like being busy doing nothing, which is kind of crazy, right? But it happens. Like all the time, we just do stuff that are not really meaningful. So it's very important, right? And when you combine all of those things together, when you understand the logic of who moved my cheese, and sometimes, maybe business is not good. It happens a lot. Trust me, I've closed a lot of businesses in my life too. Sometimes business is not good. You got to move and find the next cheese. Sometimes, clients would cancel, which is fine. No problem. Let's find another client. But we got to focus on that activity and not on what we have lost, because cannot stay in the past. We have to stay in the future. We have to move forward. If you're not moving forward, you're moving backward. It's just the way it is. Seriously. Even different things. I just thought about it the other day. I haven't pushed as hard in the gym as I used to. And today I realized that I don't move as much weight as I used to just not long ago, because I didn't move. I didn't move forward. I didn't have progress. When you don't have progress, you have deprogress, or whatever it's called. Decline in whatever it is, right? So the alternative of progress. So I don't know if deprogress is the right word. It's the right word. Anyway, so I didn't have the progress. I wasn't moving like with the gym just recently, now that I noticed, because I haven't put in the efforts and I didn't put my focus on pushing as much weight. I put focus on some different stuff, some little cardio stuff, but my weight was moving down because I didn't do that. When it comes to business, I've seen a lot of people recently in pandemic, the economy, things have changed in the last couple of years. Look, whatever was going on from 2016 to 2019 was one phase. Whatever happened from beginning or maybe end of 19 to 21 or 22-ish was a different phase. And now we have 22-ish to 24. That's another phase. And I see it also in the clients. I see it in the economy. I see it in a lot of things. So it's very important. If you have challenges, you got to move. You got to be in emotion. You got to be in emotion state. And then when you move, you're dynamic. You'll be able to make it out, to make it happen. And I'm kind of sharing this because I had multiple coaching sessions of people tell me that they're not doing so well. But essentially what happened to them, it's kind of like those mice in the story, where one day they woke up, they went to cheese station C, and they found out there was no more cheese. And instead of running and looking for cheese like the mice did, so the little people just stayed there. So same thing happened to those people that reached out. They just stayed and they didn't move. They wasn't dynamic. They said, well, it's gonna be good next month. Well, maybe it's gonna be good next year. But they didn't make any changes. They didn't push. So I guess my point is, we always have to push, no matter what. Yes, there is down times, all of those things, it's fine. But essentially, we gotta push, we gotta find the cheese, we gotta look for new cheese, we gotta look for more cheese, never stay in one place. And if you do stay in one place for a little bit of time, you gotta make sure that you're grabbing as much as you can and saving it for a rainy day or whatever it is, so it's gonna be available. Gotta focus on the activities. Focus on the production and productivity. Focus on productivity instead of focus on activity. And if you combine all of those things together, you surround yourself in great people, then everything is amazing and prosperity is just around the corner. So hopefully this is helpful. Definitely go check that book and have an amazing day. See you in the next one of Coffee with a Wiz. Bye-bye.